Now, here's Dominic Carter on Talk Radio 77 WABC.
Recreational marijuana in the state of New Jersey. Folks, I am telling you, we are making a big mistake. Marijuana is a gateway drug that leads to other problems. I know the train has already left the station, and I know that the politicians are counting the millions of dollars in tax revenue, but the net gain is ultimately going to be a net loss when you add up the emergency room visits, when you add up the crime that continues to grow, when you add up that in some cases, and I know this is legal marijuana, but, you know, who knows, even after it leaves the dispensary, who knows what exactly is going to happen. I know you're going to say to me, Dominic, this is the best type of marijuana you can buy. It comes, with government backing, but I just don't buy it. So let's start with the situation in Syracuse, New York. I'm going to give you my honest assessment in just a moment. I want you to listen what it sounds like. 3 police officers, Syracuse, New York, respond. 8-year-old boy accused of stealing a bag of chips. The child becomes hysterical, and there's a member of the community that is recording this. And then we're going to let you hear the reaction from Governor Hochul. This has gone national, and the police in Syracuse and New York are under fire. I'm going to give you my assessment, my honest assessment in just a moment. First, I want you to listen to what this sounded like when the police in Syracuse confronted this 8-year-old boy.
What is y'all doing? What is y'all doing?
Guess. Take a guess what I'm doing.
Hey, he like a baby to me. Why you?
Guess what I'm doing.
I don't know what you doing. I just see you snatch him up off the.
No.
So what? So what's going on then?
You're stealing stuff. If he breaks into your house to steal something.
Nah, man. What he stole a bag of chips? So y'all treat me like a whole cold-blooded killer?
Keep walking, dude. You don't even know what you're
Keep
talking
walking.
about.
I know what I just came up and see. I know the I just came up and see.
Okay, what did you see?
I see y'all snatching him up a bike like you're a grown-ass man. Ain't he saying it wasn't him? What is y'all doing?
Crazy. How old is he? 10 years?
What is y'all talking about, man?
That's against the law.
What is y'all doing?
So you cannot put that.
What is y'all doing? Take the chips. If he stole some chips, I'll pay for him. I'll pay for him. You don't even know where he lives. Y'all just throwing him in the car.
That's what they do. They come here.
What is y'all doing? Leave him alone.
No camera. That's all we can do.
He a kid.
So that's the scene that occurred in Syracuse. And I'm going to let you hear what the governor has to say. But let me give you my take on this. Number one, the video looks awful. It looks awful. But when calmer heads prevail, maybe the father of this child should be thankful for the officer's actions. Now, why do you say that, Dominic? As of right now, the father wants an investigation into the police officers. Number one, if you look carefully at the video, which is now viral, it looks like the little boy, who is hysterical, was placed in handcuffs. But that's not the case. The officer was holding the young man on each side, on his left arm and on his right arm, standing behind him. So he was never handcuffed. He was put into the patrol car, but he was not arrested or taken to a juvenile detention facility or charged as a juvenile. The police officers took the 8-year-old boy home and spoke to his father. The boy was not charged with a crime. Here's why I say that when calmer heads prevail, maybe the father of this boy would want to thank the police officers. It could have gone a very different way. And this may sound cruel, but this can be a teachable moment, and a moment where clearly, as hysterical as the child got, 8 years old, the question becomes, why is the child shoplifting? I don't know if the child was hungry or not, but, you know, maybe counseling. This can be an initiative for counseling for the child and for nipping this in the bud before it becomes a much bigger problem. Right? So I honestly feel, rather than wanting to file a complaint against the officers, the father, when calmer heads prevail, should thank them for how they responded to this situation. And frankly, this falls right under the category. I see your phone calls. We're going to them in just 1 second. This falls under the category of police having an impossible job. So the 8-year-old boy is black, 3 male white police officers responding, Syracuse, New York. Now, in an ideal world, now that we know that the video's gone viral, in an ideal world, maybe the police officers on scene should have radioed for an African-American female officer to respond. In an ideal world, if we're going to Monday morning quarterback all day long, those officers in that situation did not have the luxury of, you know, the Monday morning quarterbacking. Now, keep in mind, we're going to play what Governor Hochul has to say about this. Keep in mind, it's an election year, and Governor Hochul needs the progressive vote out of New York City. Here is what the governor had to say.
As a mother, that was a heart-wrenching video to witness. And I know that the mayor is working closely with the police department to get to the bottom of everything, but also make sure that we do protect our children, that they're handled in a different way when it comes to encounters with law enforcement. I think that's what all of our expectations will continue to be.
Governor Hochul commenting on the police situation in Syracuse, New York. 3 officers. Oh, and by the way, the police say that one of the officers has responded at least a couple of other times to this child possibly shoplifting. Now, you may have heard in the video, the child says he didn't do it. But the police say this is not the first time that they have encountered this young man. So they took him home. He was not placed under arrest. He was not handcuffed. And so maybe when calmer heads prevail, maybe this father should thank those police officers. To Rob in Staten Island, good morning, Rob. You're on Talk Radio 77 WABC.
Hey, Dominic. So, yeah, respond to that story with the 8-year-old. So when I was a kid, when I was 10 years old, my buddy and I, we thought it would be fun to put coins and some other little nonsense on the railroad tracks. We got caught by a couple plainclothes cops out in Nassau County. And what did they do? They put us in the back of the car. They put our bicycles in the trunk. They brought us home. I don't remember a butt kicking that I ever got from my mother like I got that day. And you want to know something?
You never did it again.
It was probably one of the best things that happened.
Mm-hmm.
One of the best things that happened.
Mm-hmm.
Fast forward, 30-plus years later, and I'm in law enforcement now myself.
Well, thank you for your service.
Thanks. And, from time to time, that's probably the best option. You walk them home, you put them in the back of the car, you bring them home. I think, the video, the problem is the video looks terrible. You know, and most people are not going to analyze the video and go into the details. They're just going to have their knee-jerk reaction, and it's going to explode. So that's that. And if I could just make one other comment to something you just said while I was on hold.
Go ahead.
You did make a mention of, if there was, I guess, more time. they could have maybe had a female African American officer respond.
Yes.
I don't agree with that. I don't believe that at all. I can't tell you how many times I've responded to a job where the individuals right from Jump Street said, no, I don't want to talk to you. I want you to have a Hispanic officer respond or a black officer respond.
Okay.
And we don't play that game.
Okay.
I'm here. I'm a professional. I'm going to give you equal time, and I'm going to make an unbiased decision. And if you want the police, you got to understand the police officer is going to respond. Not a black officer, not a white officer, not an Asian officer, a police officer.
Hey, Rob, you know what?
That's
Rob, that's a great point that you just made. But let me push back a little bit here and bear with me for a second. I'm stating that out of support for the 3 white male officers that were on scene. They are in a impossible situation. You have the officer that's standing behind him, and you have 2 other officers on location, and you have what appears to be an African-American man videotaping this, and I know that he's coming to the aid of the 8-year-old boy, but it was really inflaming the situation to a much higher level, and the officers were just trying to get off of location. And once they put the child into the patrol car, it appears that they put his bike in the back of the patrol car. They took him to his father and communicated with his father. That's why my point is, when calmer heads prevail, and the video is bad, but when calmer heads prevail, maybe this father should thank these officers, because if counseling's required, it's early intervention. It's nipping this situation before it can lead to something much larger. I've got to take a break, but before I do so, let's go to our friend Audrey in Brooklyn. Good morning, Audrey. How do you see this situation?
Good morning, Dominic. First of all, to the gentleman that said only black folks would like complain. I don't matter what black breed, it's a child. I agree somewhat with Kathy. That could have been handled in a different manner, because a bag of potato chips is not taking anyone's life. I'd say 3 officers for 1 child. I mean, if he's been doing this before, then that's up to his parents. But I just think it was kind of roughly hurt. And think about it. If that was your son, you wouldn't be too happy about it at the beginning.
Well, I did have a situation, Audrey. My son is kind of big like me, but he has epilepsy, and he wouldn't harm a fly. And, he didn't grow up in the project, so he doesn't really understand, no matter how many times I've had this conversation with him. So we would come to the city, and he would say, Dad, I've got to urinate. And I would try to send him to a restaurant, and sometimes they would say, no, our restaurant, I would send them to the restroom, and they would say, no, our bathroom is out of order. And so my eyebrows immediately went up, and then when I walked up, and then sometimes they recognize me, oh, we made a mistake, the restroom is open. But the situation, you said I would be angry if it was my son. So in Rockland County, my son was running at a mall he had to go to the bathroom badly. I was not there. An officer saw him running. To this day, I still don't know what police department. I went to every department in the county. Every police department told me, no, Mr. Carter, it's not us, it's not us, it's not us. And an officer saw him running and ordered him to spread eagle on the floor. Now, Audrey, you are correct. I was livid. And I was livid because this kid comes from a good family in a high-paying tax county, and he did nothing wrong except for being a black male running, and he was trying to get to a restaurant that had a restroom. So I would be angry. But in this situation, Audrey, and I've got to take a commercial break. I thank you for the call, Audrey. Thank you so much. And in this situation, I really do feel that when calmer heads prevail, right now, everything's raw, the emotion. But I really feel that the father, in this case, should thank these officers because they're put in a very tough situation. So Audrey said 3 officers is too much to respond to. But Audrey, what we're not being honest about is that this is in, no disrespect, this is in the hood of Syracuse. And the hood of Syracuse is rough. So generally, there's not going to be one officer responding to a call. It's going to be one and backup in the hood in Syracuse. So in Syracuse, and I know it like the back of my hand, you have a gorgeous, lavish Syracuse University campus, and right next to the campus, you have the black community on one side. And it's rough, impoverished, and it hasn't gotten any better in decades.